Hey guys, it's Kenny from Slurv.com, and I'm here to go over my favorite cash game plays for the second major of the year, the U.S. Open. Before I go over my picks, let's take a look at the course and talk some cash game strategy for the week. The U.S. Open is going to be played at Oakmont Country Club in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. Oakmont is a 7,250-yard par 70 course with 4 par 3s and 2 long par 5s. The course has no water, hardly any trees, and large greens. Sounds easy, right? Well, it's actually far from easy. Phil Mickelson actually called it the hardest course in the world earlier this week. There are a couple of reasons why this course is so difficult. First, the reason is the rough. There will be 2 cuts of rough this week as golfers hit their drives off the tee. The first cut is about 2.5 inches thick and runs about 15 feet from the edge of the fairway. If golfers miss the fairway but land in this first cut, they should be okay and still have a shot at the green. The second cut of rough, though, is a monster. A commentator on the PGA Tour Live app last week said that you could lose a small child in this rough. He was only sort of joking. The second cut of rough will be about 5 inches tall, and golfers will have no choice to just hit wedge out onto the fairway, which makes making par very, very difficult. The next difficult part about the course are going to be the firm, lightning-fast greens. The greens will be running at about 14 on the Stimpmeter, and 3 putts will likely be the norm. At the Memorial, Jack Nicklaus heard the greens are going to be running at 14, and he said with those speeds, the tournament won't even be able to be completed. Again, I think he was only half joking. Another quote I heard this week about the greens is, it's going to be similar to putting down a flight of stairs with the hole in the middle stair. So you're looking at super fast greens. Golfers will also have to deal with deep bunkers all over the course, and patience is going to be needed because with all these possible high scores, it's going to have some very slow rounds. If you'd like a more detailed course description, check out my article on dfsondemand.com this week. A couple of other things about this tournament. The cut is top 60 and ties, not the usual top 70 and ties you see week in and week out on tour. With over 150 golfers in the field, more golfers will miss the cut than usual. This changes the strategy a little bit in cash games. Usually in cash games, at least in my point of view, you just want as many golfers as possible to make the cut and have a few guys inside the top 20 just in case 1 or 2 of your guys miss the cut. While it still holds true that you want as many golfers to make the cut as possible, it'll be much more difficult. Because of this, focusing on guys with more upside, maybe a little bit more risk, and not just cut makers, seems like a good way to go this week. There are going to be golfers that surprise you with a missed cut this week, and to counteract that, I'll be focusing more on golfers who I think will have a chance to win or finish highly, no matter what their price is. Just some stats I'm looking for this week. First is, strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained putting. I look at those every week. Other stats, ball striking, which is a combination of total driving and greens in regulation, par 4 scoring, scrambling, and bogey avoidance. Now, let's get to the picks. My first pick is at a price range where I normally avoid in cash games. But since I think the placement point bonus on DraftKings will be more important this week, I'm going with Jason Day as my top-end pick at $12,100. Personally, I think he has the best chance of winning, and I think this week you should have your personal favorite to win in your cash lineup no matter the price. With his newfound love of the 2-iron off the tee, which he used at the Players' Championship to actually win that tournament, I think that'll be really helpful for him again this week to avoid the rough because he is very accurate with that 2-iron. And it's not like he's losing a bunch of distance bringing out the 2-iron as well. He hits that 2-iron about 290 yards off the tee. Another advantage is that he has his height on his approach shots. He hits his 5-iron almost as high as most other golfers hit their 7-irons. And this should help him keep balls on the firm and fast green, just because, the higher the trajectory, the easier the ball is to stop. He's also a great scrambler, exceptional from the sand, and is the best putter on tour this year. He's my personal favorite to win this week, and he will be in all of my cash lineups. Second pick. Sorry. Second pick. If you were watching these videos the last month or so, you know, this next pick is probably not going to come as a shock. It's Matt Kuchar at $8,500. You know, he's been straight fire the last 2 months with 5 top 10s in his last 6 events, including 3 top 5s. He also has 4 top 15s in the last 6 U.S. Opens that he's played. Now, I know the courses vary every year. There's a different course they play for the U.S. Open every year. But the USGA sets the courses up in similar fashion. So, you know, that's something you might want to look at when you're looking into your doing your research this week. He also has great stats for the course. You know, he's 15th in strokes gained tee to green, 12th in bogey avoidance, 7th in par 4 scoring, 53rd in ball striking, 25th in scrambling, and 19th in strokes gained putting. He is actually the #1 ranked golfer in my model overall this week, ahead of Jason Day, ahead of Jordan Spieth, ahead of Rory McIlroy. With his current form and stats for the course, I think he's a safe bet to make the cut, and as you can see with his recent finishes, the upside's there for Kuchar. Alright, so my next pick, I'm dropping down a little bit. It's going to be Charles Schwartzel at $7,500. He has a great tee to green game, plays par 4s well, avoids bogeys, hits a lot of greens, and is a good scrambler. Basically, check, 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 check. All things I'm looking for this week in golfers for the U.S. Open in my cash game lineups. He's been playing well this year, making 12 of 13 cuts, and he's been performing well recently. He finished 25th at the Dean and DeLuca a few weeks back, and he finished 11th at the Memorial even more recently. He's made 7 of 9 cuts overall at the U.S. Open and finished 30th his last time out at Oakmont. I don't know how much people will be looking into the 2007 Oakmont tournament, but you know, it's just something to keep an eye on for some of these older golfers if they showed up at that tournament. He usually shows up at majors, and really I don't have any reason to think that's going to be different this week. So my last pick, it's a little bit of a doozy. Some people might disagree with it on this one, but I'm going with it anyways. You know, like I said, a little bit more risk is probably needed this week in cash games, and this guy definitely fits that risk-type mold. My final pick is Webb Simpson at $7,000. This guy's game fits the U.S. Open setup. You know, he's a former U.S. Open winner. He's made all of his cuts at every U.S. Open that he's played in. And everything about his game suits this course except his putting. Now, if you look at his recent performances, he has been putting much better. The anchor putting ban really hurt him, but he's been using the Matt Kuchar putting grip the last couple of tournaments where he actually has a long putter and it goes up his left arm and he actually anchors it basically on the left arm. So, you know, since he changed that a couple of weeks ago, he finished 3rd at the Dean and DeLuca Invitational and finished in the top 20 in strokes gained putting for that week. He used it again at the Memorial and finished 11th with a strokes gained putting ranking of 66, which is still pretty good for Webb. You know, even though most people shy away from him in cash games, he still has made 10 of 13 cuts for the year and 5 of 6 cuts recently, including a top 30 finish at the Masters. That's it for my 4 main cash game picks this week. But if you're looking for a cash game option under $7,000, take a peek at Retief Goosen. He has 3 consecutive top 15s on tour, and he loves putting on these lightning-fast greens. You know, his 2 U.S. Open trophies can sort of corroborate that claim. So that's it for this week. You know, make sure you check out all the other PGA DFS experts on slurve.com. There's some webcasts on Tuesday night. There's a webcast on Wednesday night. Lots of guys with solid information coming up. My cash game chat is Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Also, check out my pod. It's called The Fantasy Golf Degenerates, and you can find it on iTunes. Lastly, check out my article this week on dfsondemand.com for an extensive course review and my other picks this week. Starting next week, you can find my weekly article on projectroto.com. So that's so you know, make sure you go check on over there for that site. They do a really good job over there as well. Good luck this week, and hopefully, this info helps you take down your cash games this week. I'll see you next week.